Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so we're taking a really fascinating look at the modern human condition today. I mean, think about it. Think about all our incredible achievements as a society. We're more connected, way more technologically advanced, and literally more productive than at any point in human history. Yet, despite all this incredible progress, modern life often just feels profoundly empty, right? And anxious. So, why is that? Well, today we're diagnosing this very specific, incredibly pervasive modern illness. It's a phenomenon we're calling the striver's dilemma. So get comfortable and let's jump right in.
So, are you starving for meaning? It's a pretty heavy question, I know, but if you talk to young people today or, highly driven professionals, there's this common, honestly kind of chilling sentiment that keeps popping up. People feel like they're living in a simulation. They wake up, they stare at a phone, do their work on Zoom, date on an app, socialize through screens. It's a completely simulated life. And it just leaves them feeling totally disconnected from actual reality. Now, what's really interesting here is how we can actually frame happiness medically, because happiness isn't just some fleeting feeling, right? It requires a very specific macronutrient profile. Basically, to be truly happy, you need three things: enjoyment, satisfaction, and meaning. And here is the absolute core of our modern diagnosis. As a society, and especially for highly educated strivers, we are ridiculously proficient at finding satisfaction through hard work and struggle. I mean, we crush our goals, but we are severely, severely deficient in that essential macronutrient of meaning. We're basically walking around spiritually malnourished. Section 1, the symptoms. Let's look at the 2008 turning point. If we map out the timeline, the data paints a crystal clear picture. We're dealing with a psychogenic epidemic. That's a highly socially contagious spread of misery with zero obvious biological origin. Look at 2008. The widespread introduction of smartphones literally rewired our brains, and it triggered this massive spike in feelings of meaninglessness. Then by 2019, depression rates on college campuses had tripled, and clinical anxiety doubled. And then, 2020 hit. Lockdowns completely exacerbated our isolation and just poured gasoline on our addictive digital behaviors. To really wrap your head around the scale of this, keep the number 15% in mind. Historically, a baseline of about 15% of young people felt their lives were meaningless. It just sort of bumped along at that baseline for years. But post-2008, exactly at the same time as the rise of the smartphone, that number didn't just inch up, it absolutely exploded. Section 2, the root cause. Left versus right brain. Okay, so let's dive into the neuroscience here, because the core issue lies in how the two hemispheres of our brain govern totally different areas of life. Your left brain, that's logic-driven. It solves complicated problems, the how and what. Building a jet engine is complicated, but hey, once you solve it, it's solved. Your right brain, on the other hand, navigates complex mysteries, the why. A marriage, human connection, the very meaning of life. These are complex. They're basically impossible to solve, but that is exactly where meaning lives. Society today basically forces us to use our left brains to find complicated algorithmic solutions for complex human mysteries. And spoiler alert, that simply doesn't work. You can't use a dating app algorithm to solve the profound complexity of falling in love. Harvard professor and social scientist Arthur Brooks put it perfectly with this stark warning. If you want to miss the meaning of your life, spend all day online. Think about it. When you spend all day online just typing queries into a search bar, you're locked into that left brain how-to activity. The right brain actually needs space, it needs stillness, and crucially, it needs boredom to conjure up those deep why questions of life. Constant digital distraction, it completely eliminates that boredom. Section 3. The pathogen. The tech doom loop. Let's explore how the very tool we use to cure our boredom actually makes the disease way worse. This right here is the anatomy of an iatrogenic doom loop. Iatrogenic is just a fancy medical term meaning the treatment actually causes the illness. So you feel a pang of normal human boredom or anxiety, right? What do? You reach into your pocket and self-soothe with your phone, a digital painkiller. But here's the problem. When you put the phone down, the boredom and anxiety come back with an absolute vengeance. It leaves you in a state of worsened, profound isolation. So you need a higher dose of the tech to soothe the new anxiety. And just like that, you're trapped. Section 4, the anatomy of meaning. So if we're trapped and lacking meaning, we first need to break down what meaning actually entails, because it's way too big of a concept to tackle all at once. It's actually a combination of three pillars. First up, coherence. That's having a belief structure about why things happen, even if you don't fully understand it. Second is purpose, having a direction. It's your rum line, the overall trajectory you're moving toward, rather than just obsessing over some final finish line. And finally, significance. This is the feeling that your life actually matters to others, which ultimately just comes down to love. Lacking even one of these three pillars can completely paralyze us.
Section 5. The Striver's Dilemma. Now, you really need to address the specific trap awaiting highly educated, hardworking people, the strivers. During his research, Arthur Brooks interviewed this phenomenally wealthy, super successful finance executive. She literally had everything the world says you should want. Yet, she was deeply miserable, estranged from her family, no hobbies, entirely isolated. When he asked her why she didn't just take the obvious steps to fix her life, her answer was wild. She said, "I've always chosen to be special rather than happy." Strivers will literally sacrifice their own personal happiness on the altar of achievement in specialness all day long.
The crucial point here is that strivers ruin their lives and their relationships by treating love like a scoreboard. From childhood, strivers are taught that affection is this commodity you have to earn. You get good grades, you get praise. But love cannot be earned through personal merit or hard work. It's a grace, and it is freely given. The absolute highest form of meaning requires taking that complex, right-brain risk of simply giving your heart away without trying to put points on a board.
Section 6, the prescription, reclaiming the right brain.
Okay, so we can't exactly just throw our phones in the ocean, right? We need a moderation diet. First, implement tech-free times. Keep off the screen the first and last hours of your day, and strictly during meals. This mealtime rule is huge. Eye contact without digital distraction naturally boosts oxytocin, which is the human bonding hormone. Second, establish tech-free zones. Your bedroom and your classrooms should be absolute sanctuaries from smartphones. Finally, consider tech fasts. Committing to a multi-day silent or spiritual retreat physically forces your brain out of that left brain tech loop and completely re-engages your right brain. Section 7. The Formula for Suffering. Next up, let's look at this fascinating mathematical approach to how we handle the hardships of life. Consider this equation. Pain times resistance equals suffering. Now, striver culture constantly tells us to completely eradicate pain. But physical or emotional pain, that's an inevitable physiological phenomenon. It's going to happen. It's our left-brained attempt to control and resist that inevitable pain that actually multiplies our suffering. If you try to lower the pain, you learn nothing. But if you lower your resistance to the pain, your suffering drops significantly.
You must never waste your suffering. Seriously, when a hardship arrives, acknowledge it. Then, make the conscious decision to stop resisting and fighting reality. By surrendering to it, by practicing non-resistance, you lower your suffering dramatically. And more importantly, this acceptance opens up a powerful escape hatch from the matrix. It actually transforms your pain into a crucible for learning and profound meaning. Section 8. The ultimate act of transcendence.
Finally, let's look at the ultimate way to invite meaning into your life, shifting your perspective from the me self to the I self. Arthur Brooks received this profound reminder directly from the Dalai Lama. Remember that you're one of 8 billion. Our evolutionary biology desperately wants us to be the main character, right? The center of our own tedious, terrifying psychodrama. But finding true peace requires self-transcendence. We have to embrace our smallness. When you step outside your ego and recognize you're simply one speck on a speck in an infinite universe, you literally liberate yourself from the crushing weight of self-obsession.
So, we've covered the neuroscience, the doom loops, and the actionable prescriptions. But it all comes down to a final, really provocative question. Are you willing to risk being happy instead of special? The hustle culture we live in demands that you optimize, achieve, and strive to be special at all costs. But true meaning requires a totally different kind of courage. The courage to put down the phone, to sit with your boredom, surrender to your pain, and accept the grace of love. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I challenge you to really carry that question with you today.